dags för Mats Kempe att prata om DNA står i vägen för agilitet. Välkommen på scenen, Mats.
We are building a new IT system because the old one was not good enough. And then, when we're done with the new IT system, we still have some of the old ones left because there were some things there we needed to keep, so to speak. And that becomes a bit of our DNA. We have a bit of the old and a bit of the new. And then we do that quite a few times with many systems, and we've started to get a bit of a mess. But we don't just do it with our system. We also do it with our roles, our processes, our tools, and our culture. And after many years, this becomes a rather large soup of DNA residues. And that's what I'm going to talk about. My thesis is that this soup gets in our way of doing stuff. For example, an agile transformation or any other change. So, let me tell you a little story about a company. The CEO of this company has an MBA as a ground, an education. They got it from some slightly older teachers who in turn had learned this from some who were even older, how to run a business. Control, hell of a methodology, go for it. So the company was founded with a DNA based on control, which we can put in our little pot down here in the corner. Then something happened. A whole new generation of technology was on its way. So somewhere in the 80s, they said, we're going to invest in the tools of the future. Computers. And these were computers that only few people understood. And those few people, they had to stay in a basement. And the others stayed on another floor. And then we built a bit of a culture that was we and them. We who understood and those who did not. And then we mixed it up with this control culture that we had from the beginning. And then we added to the pot down here. They kept on working, and then a wave swept over the world. If you create structure down to the last detail, then you can make more money. So, somewhere in the early 90s, we brought in consultants to help us establish processes. So it's pretty much new roles, new tools. There were process managers, process owners, process maps. And while we were at it, we set up a project structure too. We will work in project as a ways of working. So again, new roles, new processes, new tools. We talk project models, project managers, project owners, project budgets. Now we have everything in place. We're going to get some money in the till. Let's make some money. And then we mix it up here with the basement, with us and them. So we have control DNA, we have basement DNA, we have project DNA, we have process DNA. In both processes, people, tools, and culture. After a few years, something else happened. Something you hadn't expected. IT costs skyrocketed. IT is expensive as hell. We were just going to buy some computers and have some guys in a basement. And what's more, IT wasn't working very well either. It was broken more often than it actually worked. And that's a bummer. But there was a cure for that. So new consultants came in. This time, the solution to poor quality was spelled Service Management and ITIL. And now, there will be some who kind of new graduates here. They just go, what? But that's okay, bear with. But again, so you take courses, there are new processes, new roles, new tools, new ways of working. And these process managers who had held processes from the last shift, they stand beside and watch like, that's pretty much what I do. But it wasn't the process managers who ran the ITIL processes, it was the ITIL process dudes kind of thing. And then there was the economy. It was remedied with maintenance management control. It was spelled PM3. That's great. We'll just split everything up into different management objects and specify everything exactly how it should work. Once again, new processes, new roles, new tools, new culture. And then we mix it with the basement and so on. Okay, we're fighting on here. Then something happens. It's really slow. Nothing happens. We're not getting anything out. We have great control, but nothing is coming out. New problem. But there's a solution. This is the time when the conference called Agila Sverige was being established. Now we will work in an agile way. People should work as a team. Developers should work as a team. We introduce roles for that, processes for that, tools for that, sprints, backlogs, story points, product owners. And then we also have our project next doors, of course. The process owners are still there because we need audits. So we need to have someone who owns the process, otherwise we will not pass our audit. But the process managers have long gone. They disappeared in some downsizing some time ago. Now there's a lot of DNA here that is mixed. And that's right. Then the CIO came back one summer and said, we're going to go with DevOps. It's awesome. Check it out. Development, operations, and maintenance. It's supposed to be one. Together. This is the new thing. New roles, new language, new thinking. Together. Autonomous teams. And then the administrative manager who sit down to draw up the annual plan for next year's budget in the room next door. How the hell is this supposed to work? And an incident manager contacts the team and demands that you as a team must work in our process, in our old-fashioned tool with manual procedures. And the development team just go like, what? We saw on our monitoring there was a mess, and we already fixed it before you got in touch. They don't get it. Hiccups in the DNA. This is messy. They're working on a pretty big DNA mix down here in the corner now. Somewhere along the line, we realized this is good stuff we're heading for, but is it just for IT? Of course not. Of course it isn't. So now the board demanded that we have to work together. Now we will work as a team and value streams at all levels. The whole company, IT and business together. New roles, new processes, new tools, new thinking. And a PMO that runs all projects with an iron fist. And maintenance leaders IT from PM3, they also disappeared in some downsizing. But the maintenance leaders are still there. And now they're hearing that they're starting to hire product owners who do a bit of what they do. So they go to the union and are shit stirred. Not good at all. Oh, the leadership needs to change too. It shouldn't be top down anymore. So out with the CEO and in with a new one, who also has an MBA, by the way. Management 3.0, servant leadership. And then management has to work on this annual performance review because it's part of our old DNA. We've always done it this way. A lot of DNA now in this soup. And somewhere around here, the company realizes this. It's really hard to run a business with this DNA soup. What should we do? So the management sat down and figured it out. Poured out the whole bucket of DNA. Out on the table with it. What do we have here? And then they started to clean stuff up. And realized like this. We have to put ourselves in the driver's seat. We can't just depend on a bunch of consultants who come in with new buzzwords and just drive on. We have to put ourselves in the driver's seat and take responsibility for having a game plan that works for us, with good DNA and throw away the bad ones. And that's where the saga of this company ended. And maybe this company is now entering what I called the sixth IT era. That is where we look at impact rather than frameworks. And where we talk about sustainability times two. It should be sustainable for the company and it should be sustainable for the people who work there. You could be witty and call it effectainability. We'll see if that word will be a hit, I'm not sure. So, what should we do with this information? We have a little story about the DNA, and I'm thinking about three things. One, when we're about to make a big change, there are many of us working on that, then we need to look at what kind of DNA we're going to get into, so we can navigate in this maze. If we're going to introduce product owners, then maybe we should check it out like this. Is there a person or a role in the DNA who's already a bit sharp at knowing what is important to us and who can prioritize? Then maybe we should use that. Then we will have less resistance in our change. Or if we're going to introduce participatory budgeting, remove the management maintenance plans. Okay, 2. Look at the company when it's born. It gives an indication of what DNA you will find in there. And 3. Refactor your DNA when you're doing it. So don't introduce OKRs without removing the balanced scorecard. And perhaps it is the case where we are entering the 6th IT era. I will try to get there. We'll see who joins me there. Thank you.